Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. As Manchester United reach breaking point, morale in the squad never been so low, confusion, amazement around United's inactivity in the transfer window. Of course, the transfer window isn't open yet and that's something you could say, but it's open for some people. Liverpool are doing bits, Arsenal are doing bits, United are certainly slowing down at a time where they need to be speeding up. We'll talk about that exclusive. Also, Jockarez bid goes in, not from Manchester United. Is that the closed chapter on that fantasy? There is a sporting player we're looking at. This is coming out of Portugal this morning. His name is Gyokeres. We'll talk about that. Also, what's happening with Bruno Fernandes and Onana staying. Cherki off to Manchester City as well. What are United doing in the transfer market? Lots to get into this morning. Welcome to the show. Okay, so look, it was a few weeks ago when we spoke about the Delap story, and obviously that didn't come to pass. But you might remember a few days ago, I said on the show that the morale in the team, especially around this tour, is really low. Obviously, contractually, they understand they've got to do it, but going to the other side of the world, you know, being booed, stands not full, could have been on holiday recuperating after a horrible season. Really low morale in the squad anyway. It's interesting because now you've got people like Simon Stone, Laurie Whitwell, who are out there flying back, writing articles basically saying this. It's starting to come out from the more established journalists now because the United squad is never been so low. The morale is on the floor. This is possibly a reason why Bruno Fernandes would turn his back on the club, actually. It's nothing to do with you. He loves Man United. He loves the fans, but the way the club is being run behind the scenes, the morale has never been so low. You can't keep this out. Like, this is leaking out everywhere now. Like, this is why people like the BBC are writing it, the Athletic are writing it. They've got their connections, they've got their sources, but it's coming out, it's leaking everywhere. Basically, this comes down to the fact that the end of season tour, nobody really wanted to do it, even Amorim. But more importantly, the sacking of people that they care about, the way the club is heading, the ownership since Sir Jim Radcliffe came in, there's just a general feeling. And remember, these people are pampered millionaires, but they do want a successful career. As fans, we know how we feel about the ownership. The players are sort of, they're living it. They're living it every day. They go in and where's Marge? Where's Steve been sacked? Like, so it's really low. The performances aren't improving because of it. And there's a real confusion around what United are doing. It's just very mercenary. Let's get on a plane and fly to the side of the world. But what I was also told is that with the transfer side of things, there's a real amazement in the squad, just how slow United are operating. Now, people would say, well, yeah, but the transfer window's only just opened. But Man United are far, far behind everybody else. We're way behind everybody else. And the transfer window doesn't open till next month. But that's not really an excuse. That's not an excuse for being slow. When we're talking about certain players being amazed at how slow Man United are operating, they've known about Onana for 3 months. They've known they wanted to get him on. Nothing's happening there. Bruno Fernandes, they've known that people would buy Bruno for ages, and here they are dithering around that, begging him to stay. Liverpool are bringing in 3 or 4 players quick, and they're already the best team in the league. Man United, who are we going for? It's just slow. There's a sense that they need to sell to buy. And one of the big things we were told is that, look, Manchester United know if Bruno Fernandes goes tomorrow, they can go and get Martinez, the goalkeeper. They can go and get a striker. They can go and do business. They can knock on the door of Brentford and say, there's 50 million quid. There is literally £100 million there that they can go and use to bring players in that they need to bring in. But they're going, oh, I don't know. Everything's just so slow. And that's the feedback back because, like you, some of these players know they're going to be here next season. And they're sort of like, we're back in training in 4 weeks. Are we going to have any new faces, or are we going to turn up with the same players again going, oh, is Onana going? You know, is Garnacho going? And it's this slow feeling around the club that is damaging that morale even further as well. There's even talk of more cuts. So this is not a squad that's heading on their summer holidays with optimism and hope. This is a squad, I was told, that is heading on holiday, not really looking forward to coming back, but grateful to be getting away from what has been an absolute shit show. So it's not a great way to end the season for Manchester United. And there was a low point anyway after the Europa League, but this last week has apparently sent it spiralling even lower. So United have got this 4 weeks where they've really got to get their arse into gear. But they're dithering. They are dithering. Even this morning, a story coming out from Portugal that Jockarez has now been subject to a bid from Juventus. Turkey has been subject to a bid from Manchester City. Now, I don't know realistically whether these are the sort of players that Manchester United can be signing. But if we're not signing them, where are we going? Where are we going? Like, this is the thing. It's like we're watching everybody else who's miles ahead of us move quicker. And yeah, the transfer window's not even open yet, Mark. And I'm sure we'll get people in the comments like that. But I would say to those people, hold on a minute. How many years have I had to listen to comments on here or on X or Twitter or whatever it's called? Transfer window doesn't even open till June, and then we don't do anything in June. We've played the game. We know how this works. You're either doing business, and the big thing that makes me laugh is that if it was Liverpool, I'd sort of like go, yeah, I sort of get that. The transfer window doesn't open for a couple of weeks, whatever. And we all know that Liverpool can be linked to a player in the morning and have them holding up the shirt by the evening. But we all know at Man United, you've got to get linked to a player and then 6 weeks later you sign them. So we're not linked to anybody at the moment. And we know it will take weeks for them to be, here we go. So it's all right saying the transfer market doesn't open for another week or whatever. It's not like United, we're not bloody Craig David FC. Woke up on Monday, had some talks on Tuesday. We were doing here we go by Wednesday and shirt signing on Thursday and Friday. That's not Manchester United. That's not how we work. So, look, you can take it or leave it. If you're in a mood where you think everything's fine and the way the club's being run is really well and the transfer window is not open yet, that's fine. Absolutely fine. But the reality is that club's in a mess. That dressing room's fed up. And the interesting thing about the dressing room as well is, for the first time in a long time, the dressing room has always had issues at Manchester United. There's always been cliques, people who don't get on. That doesn't exist anymore. There aren't any cliques in that dressing room. There aren't people who don't get on. And yet, the morale has never been so low because what's going on above. We solve one problem and we create another. It used to be under Ranić, there was like 4 or 5 cliques of people that didn't get on and groups and stuff like that, and it affected us on the pitch. Now, we don't have that, but we've got an ownership that's dragging the morale down onto the floor. And look, I'd put it like this. You go to work, your mates are getting sacked, the people above you are treating you like shit. There's no ambition, there's no drive, there's no vision. You're going to be very, very demotivated. And that's where we are at the moment. And I don't know, it's all right saying pre-season Amorim. I think we can all see that Ruben Amorim is one of the people that is impacted by this. He is not the guy he was 6 months ago. And we've seen it with so many different managers. He looks completely and utterly deflated, completely and utterly lost. And it's probably for the same reasons. United wanted Cunha and Delap done, and they were going to sit on that for a while until they sold players. They didn't get Delap, and now it's like, what's going on? They don't want to sell Bruno, even though it would bring money in. So, yeah, we're awaiting the next step, really. But what I was told is that United at the moment are not in deep negotiation with anybody. Nobody. Like, this is why Romano's quiet. This is why David Ornstein's quiet, because there is no player that we know from experience we're going to negotiate with for the next few weeks before we get here we go. They actually haven't got a player that they're moving on to at the moment. So it's a bit slow. It's a bit of a mess. We're probably just we're not very good at doing multiple deals at the same time as well, which worries me a little bit because we've got to sell Rashford, Antony, Garnacho and Sancho. Those 4 deals are going to take time whilst we need to buy 6 or 7 as well. What United are doing at the moment is what United have always done, focusing in on one problem. We can't multitask. What are they focusing in on at the moment? Bruno. It's just all about Bruno at the moment. Is he staying? Oh, is he staying? That's all we're focused in on. And it's going to slow us down. We're very, very slow. We're slow at a time where we really need to be quick. Like, we are so far behind, we need to be motoring nitro boost, and we're actually just snails. We're just so slow. We're just not really doing anything at the moment. And look, take, for example, Onana. There's goalkeepers out there. There are goalkeepers out there for under 35 million that we could bring into Manchester United. I don't know how realistic that Garcia is, but Martinez is there at Villa. There's deals we could do, but we don't have the money because we don't know what we're doing with Onana. And this is what I mean. It's slow. If Onana was going to Saudi are doing all their business now. Where's that deal? Onana is basically sat there going, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. So, sort yourselves out. If we went and bought Emi Martinez, Onana would fuck off, basically. But he's sat there at the moment going, well, I'm the goalkeeper. What are you going to do about it? United don't like to buy before they've sold. And so many clubs do that. But because we're run like a business, we will sit there and until Onana's gone, we won't bring a goalkeeper in. But Onana won't go because we haven't brought a goalkeeper in. So you're stuck in this situation whereby Onana's basically sat there going, I don't want to go. And I've got no reason to go because there's no goalkeeper there to take my place. And United are there going, but we can't buy a goalkeeper until you go. And again, the player has the power again. So what we should do is go, and this is what somebody like a Chelsea or a Liverpool would do. They'd force the hand of the player by bringing in the replacement. They'd go, well, there you go. Emi Martinez is here. He's the goalkeeper. You better piss off. And then suddenly Onana's like, I don't want to sit on my arse for a year. Get me a club. So this sell to buy problem is always a problem. A lot of people say getting rid of McTominay was a mistake. I don't think it was a mistake. But what it does show a mistake of is how until McTominay left, we didn't bring Ugarte in. So Ugarte didn't get a pre-season and he had a struggle. He had a struggle at times. Is no Delap a blessing, says Nick Stevens. If we don't go for Jockarez, what are our options? I've been quite consistent about this. I don't think no Delap is a blessing, Nick, because ultimately, I'm not the CEO, you're not the technical director, and the chat is not the manager. We don't know what's going on in that boardroom. If we'd bought Delap, I would have backed it, but I wasn't happy about it because I wanted an experienced striker. But if that's what they're obsessed with, who knows what they're going to go for next? As I said, this morning, Juventus are putting in a bid for Gyokeres. Juventus are playing in the Club World Cup. Jockarez might quite fancy that. I don't understand what's going on with Jockarez. I really do think that he should come to the Premier League in some way, shape or form. But this is what I mean about slow. We're slow. You cannot, well, you can do what you want to do, but you cannot sit there going the transfer market doesn't even open for a couple of weeks. I mean, I almost think these people started supporting United last week. Tell me the average period of time from United being linked to somebody to them signing. It's somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. We've lived it for a decade. We can't keep secrets. As a club, we can't keep secrets. You think we're signing Mbeumo. We're not even in transfer talks with Brentford yet. So even when we don't buy players, we'll all know about it. So it's slow. It's very, very slow. Ahmad flipping off Hong Kongers broke my heart, says Aomi, but apparently they did slag off his mum. Double D says, all good, saying the lack of transfer dealings and club ownership leads to bad morale. Players need to front up and take responsibility. Also, do I feel for them? No way. Go on holidays. Why? They couldn't be tired because they never worked all season. Double D, I completely agree with what you're saying there. I don't have any sympathy for the players, but what I'm saying is, it's still a very interesting story that players that have contributed to this bad season are looking above and absolutely demotivated. It's not an excuse. When you put that shirt on, some of those players have let us down. Look at the final. But it doesn't mean, I don't think they're looking for sympathy. I think it's all about, look, the club is in big trouble regardless of what we do on the pitch because of what's going up there. And also, I think the most interesting thing is, yeah, morale's on the floor. They've had to go to the other side of the world when they should be on holiday, and I agree with that, and I sympathise with that, whether you think they're millionaires or not. But it's interesting how it's coming out, and I don't know whether this is like, because the people who tell us are not, this is not player-led. I know it's good though, but I just wonder, like, transfer activity being slow, how much of this is in Bruno's head? You know, we've spent too long talking about Bruno, and maybe today we'll find something out. My indication is that Bruno will stay, but it is in the balance. But Bruno will stay because United are just so desperate. There's even talk of bonuses and an extra pay rise. And it's not even worth getting into because it'll irritate people. But they're so desperate for him to stay, which I think is scary. Like, he could actually end up with another pay rise. They're that desperate, which is what happened last summer. How can you give him... Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But if you're Bruno Fernandes... You know you're going to play next season if you stay at Man United. So you're in a privileged position that you know you're going to play. He is probably one of the players that is saying, I'm amazed by the lack of activity in the transfer window. Obviously, Cunha's good, but we're a team that needs about 7 players, not 1. You can't just sit there and go, oh, Cunha's great. No, like, why are some of these players not Why are we not advancing, moving some of these players on? Why are they actually going on holiday thinking they're coming back in July? Onana thinks he's coming back in July. Garnacho doesn't think he's coming back in July, but might be coming back in July. Even people like Rashford and Antony could be coming back in July. And it's almost like, why are they coming back? What are you doing? Why are you moving so slow? You've known for months you want to move these players on. Why are you just so slow? And also, when it comes to players coming in, other clubs are working on business. Real Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea, they're all doing business. We can't sit there and go, the market doesn't open till June. We're miles behind. Why are you not being more aggressive? So it's not that the players and staff aren't amazed about the lack of transfer activity because the market's not even open yet. What you're amazed about is the fact that the noises are just so it's so quiet. Like, you need to sell to buy. We all know we need to sell to buy, but the players that need to be sold are sort of sat there going, oh, I'm going on holiday. Yeah, I'll see what happens when I get back. They're not like, oh yeah, I'm talking to this club, I'm talking to that club. It's just really, really slow. But to be fair, well, not to be fair, but the proof in the pudding is Sir Jim Radcliffe, what's he always said? At the end of the day, we'd rather walk to the right decision than run to the wrong one. Well, you're in the wrong fucking sport, mate. This whole walk to the right decision, you're in the wrong sport. You got to be quick in football. If you snooze, you lose. And I think that's the sense around United is there is a concern that we're walking straight into a bad season. I mean, I would say, I've not heard this, I would say if you want a percentage on whether next season will be good or bad, I'd say at the moment there's a 70% chance it's going to be a bad season, and some would say that's optimistic. What would you say? Right here, right now, we will buy players, but I'm not sensing the aggression and speed that you need to go into next season, have a pre-season. Pre-season's so important, and I think we're already very close to messing it up. Our next signing could take 4 weeks. They'll be back in training by then. So I'd say at the moment, regardless of the activity we're going to do, the pace just feels a little bit lost and slow. It can change. Of course it can change. But at the moment, I'd say 70% chance we're going to have a bad season next season. I can't see it. And look, Man City, Romano, Cherki, going to cost them about 25 million quid. Frimpong, Liverpool, 30 million quid spread over 3 years. Liverpool are paying 10 million pounds for Frimpong this year. 10 next year and 10 the next after that. Man City are probably going to pay 25 for Cherki. This is what I mean. What are we sleeping on? Like, what is it we're waiting for? Well, we've got to sell Garnacho first. What's going to be left in the shop by the time we sell these players? Not a lot of quality, not a lot of bargains. We're going to be overpaying for players that people didn't want. Again, at the end of the market. We never learn. But this is the worrying thing. Man City and Liverpool are our big rivals, City rivals and biggest rival. They're miles ahead of us. They're better run football clubs with better squads, and they're buying bargains. Like, they're buying bargains. Like, we can't. Best in class, exactly, Grant. This is what we're meant to be. So, if Liverpool get Frimpong for 30 million and Man City get Cherki for 25, they're richer than us anyway. That means they can go and buy 3 or 4 other players. I'm not saying we could get Cherki or we could get Frimpong, but if you're best in class and you've got a project, how did Man City start their project? I've seen people go, wow, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a good deal for Frimpong and Liverpool, and it's a good deal for Cherki and Man City, but, they would never come to United anyway. Why? Look at Man City when they started their project. Man City were nothing. Never won the bloody Premier League at all. More likely to get relegated than get in the top 4. Suddenly, they're buying players here, there, and everywhere. They're competing with us for players, and they're coming to Man City. Why is that? Ambition, project, aggression. Is Sir Jim Radcliffe not meant to be to Man United what Abu Dhabi was to Man City? Or Todd Boehly is to Chelsea? Or is he just a puppet for the Glazers? I mean, Sir Jim Radcliffe, you've got to be the worst owner of a big club I can think of. This is meant to be a new revolution, best in class. All you're doing is sacking people and moaning about poverty. It's just not the blueprint for success from new owners, is it? Abramovich, Jack Walker at Blackburn, Todd Bowley now at Chelsea, Abu Dhabi, even Liverpool when they came in, FSG. There was an ambition to be, I mean, they've won 2 Premier League titles. And what are we doing? Cutting jobs, doing stupid tours that no one wants to get 8 million quid. It's just, it is like we're in desperate need of action, and I expect that action is going to have to kick in the next 2 weeks, because if it doesn't, we're 2 weeks away from pre-season. June can go like that, and we need to move very, very quickly. Shane Jackson, thanks for the super chat. Let's just cap a chub on some of your points. Then I'm going to update you on a few transfer stories. Goncalves has been linked to us as well. Also want to talk about a couple other bits as well. Doesn't make sense to invest 200 million in a unique system, says Enchanted Angel. Well, it makes total sense, mate. When you've appointed somebody with a totally different system, you need to buy that system. Barada was in the boardroom at City for a long time. He knows how an ambitious club operates in a transfer window. So what is he doing? Why are we subjected to yet another chaotic window with no plans, says McElvis. Well, this is what I mean about Barada. I don't know whether I've ever heard anybody say this, but this has been my thought about Barada for a few weeks now. We bring in Barada from Man City. You know, we tap each other on the back saying we've just brought in one of the best COOs, Chief Operating Officers in football. We bring him to Man United, and then we don't behave like Man City. So we bring in a guy that's used to having big budgets, big ambition, and going out there and getting the best in class for Pep Guardiola. We bring him to Man United, and then we get him to operate like Everton. Like, our CEO should not have been Barada. The way we're operating, we should have gone to Stoke. It's pointless. It's like getting Lewis Hamilton and then going, I know you've been driving around in a Ferrari, but we've got a go-kart. And I don't even know if Barada's good or bad at his job. But what I do know is the job he was doing at Man City is world apart to what he's doing here. Man City weren't going around sacking half the workforce. Man City weren't like desperately trying to, save money and work on a shoestring budget. He's totally and utterly unsuitable for the job that Sir Jim Radcliffe's getting him to do. Whether you like Barada or not, his skills at Man City are not relevant to the way that Man United are acting. You'd have been better off going to a club that's dealt with poverty and bankruptcy and, low budgets. Not a club that's been dealing with bloody loads of money. It's weird. Pre-season and having players in early increases your chance of having a better season. It's simple. Why are this so-called footballing board doing, says Patrick Lynch. Look, I don't know whether I've said it on here or that's football, but I'll say this very, very quickly. Liverpool last season didn't have a summer transfer window because they felt that the squad that Klopp left was good enough to be competitive. Arne Slot was in for pre-season. They had a brilliant pre-season working on his system. They didn't bring any players in apart from Chiesa, so it was squad from pre-season day one to pre-season day last. And they hit the season, they'd had the title run by Christmas, didn't they? What's happening this summer? It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a one-off. They're getting the players in already. Frimpong's in. Wirtz won't be long. Gyokeres won't be long. They'll probably have a striker in by the end of June as well. That's 4 key signings. They're going to be there for the first day of training again. Liverpool are going to be there pre-season with Slot, with the new players, working on it for 6 weeks. Because guess what, everybody? Guess what? This is the only time you get on the training ground with your players to go through everything without having to think about a Premier League game or this, that and the other. It's amazing how Man United neglect this every single year and think that bringing Amrabat in or Agate in or Casemiro in at the back end of the window in August, completely missing pre-season, is a good idea. The basics that we get wrong are incredible, but there are still people in our fan base going, the transfer window doesn't end till August the 31st. I don't know what you're stressing about. Because pre-season starts in 4 weeks and we're shit. And we've got a system that is very important. We are probably the one club in the Premier League that needs the pre-season more than anybody else because we are completely and utterly changing our last 30 years of blueprint in relation to system and formation. We need this pre-season more than anyone. And if we need it more than anyone, then we need the players in it. And we certainly, it's not just about incomings, by the way. You certainly, this doesn't get mentioned enough as well. Yes, you need the new signings in because they're the people that are going to play. But you certainly do not need to be turning up in July working on your new system with people like Garnacho, Marcus Rashford, Andre Onana, Jadon Sancho, etc., etc. You don't need those players turning up, high-fiving each other, not interested, not working hard, not part of the plans, not motivated. Again, it's wild. It's wild. But then again, I look at last week and I go, realistically, as fans, we're talking about a football club. We're talking about what's best for a football club. What did they do for this football club last week? They took the fans, the players and the manager to the other side of the world where no one wanted to be to earn 8 million quid. Even the Malaysian and Hong Kong fans were confused. So we're talking about football decisions. They're talking about business decisions. They're probably thinking, if we buy our players at the end of August, that's 2 months less wages we've got to give them. That's the sort of stuff that probably goes on at our football club. It costs money to spend money in June and have players in for July. New financial year at the end of June, wages in. Why would we want to pay these new signings money in July? They're not even playing games. What, we're paying them for pre-season? No, let's buy them in August. Am I wrong? I don't know. The initiative to get the players is awful. We're snails, says JJ. Why should we buy the players now and pay them 1 month's wages? You know what we're doing, just hoping this time we see something different, says Georgie. Welcome to Members Club Hayden. Sell Bruno by Jockarez and Cherky and or Edison, says Matt. Tomo, new member, thank you very much for joining in. Keel's in the house. Are they preparing to sack Amrim? New manager, Rashford and Xerxes partnership, 4-4-2. Not saying I want it, but it's the cheapest cowardly option, says Keel. Thank you very much to that. Thank you very much to Nick. And also, Jockarez did an interview 6 months ago for a Swedish paper and said the Premier League is his dream league to play in. I don't think he'll go to Juventus, Jockarez, but it's not like United are doing anything at the moment. Look, this is not... Everything I was talking about at the start is pretty much A-star information, and it is being shared by others as well. Maybe not in the same depth, but certainly the unhappiness. With regards to the transfer window, it's so logical to me that we need to do things quickly. To do that, you need money now. We will get money to do stuff, but it might not come in till late July, early August. I'm talking about selling Garnacho. I'm talking about selling Rashford. I'm talking about selling Onana, whatever. These deals might not happen, and if they do happen, I don't think they'll happen quickly. So if we need money now, and we do, there's only one thing we should be doing. Whether we like it or not, there is an offer on the table for a very lot of money, and it would instantly get us into the market today. I don't understand why we're not doing it. There was a Portuguese report this morning from Ebola, I think, saying that Man United are sniffing around Goncalves again. My understanding with Goncalves is that he can play multiple positions. He can play wide. He can play in behind the striker. He is and has been by sporting fans who've infiltrated our community, and they're very welcome over the recent months. They've said that player, whether you like him or not, is perfect. Amrim loves him. He's perfect. He might not be sensationally a superstar, but he is perfect for an Amrim system. So you could take £100 million for Bruno and bring Goncalves in tomorrow, and he is a player that Amrim loves. So I don't understand this obsession with Bruno. It's almost like we think we've got Yamal and we haven't. As somebody said yesterday, he has bad games. He had a bad game in the final. He's our best player, but he ain't brilliant all the time, and he's certainly not irreplaceable. So I think United... It's not fair on Bruno. It's not fair on Amrim, but it is fair on Sir Jim Radcliffe and Joel Glazer. If they keep Bruno, it's on them. It's on them because they've got an opportunity to put us right into the market tomorrow. We can be buying players tomorrow. We could knock on the door of Brentford and go, there's 25 million, instalment 1. Instalment 2 next year, 50 million. Let's go. Emily Derry says, Ineos pitched best in class, decisive and progress. What we're getting is cost-cutting, dithering and incompetence. A toddler could run this club better. Jockarez, that was from Nicholas. Don't think we'll buy until July when PRSR resets, says Jane. The longer it takes for the loanees to be sold, the more attractive 100 million for Bruno looks. Our incomings are dictated by the outgoings, says Josh. United are the Ferrari of football, says Damien. Why are you surprised we're so slow, says Jared. Look, I'll give you another thing as well. I'll give you another thing. You might not agree with this. You might agree with this, right? I've watched football all my life. I used to get home from school in the early 90s, go on teletext, page 312 to look at transfer news. And it wasn't always United. So I've been Championship manager Serie A, football manager, Graham Taylor's soccer manager. I've played them all. I've played the game. I love football. And it's not just Man United. Man United's my team, but I've studied, watched, consumed football for 40 years. I know how transfers work. I know how summer transfer works. I can say West Ham won the transfer market last summer. Didn't do them any good. So you can see how buying a load of players doesn't mean successful, or having a good window can be successful. You get to know themes of how a transfer window works. I would say to Manchester United, if you sell Bruno for £100 million and you start spending that money in June, which you can do because it registers into this year. There was a great point there about PSR and FFP resetting at the end of June. If we lodge the Bruno deal in June, we can spend money in June in this financial year because we've got £100 million coming in. If we have that £100 million and we buy players, it will speed up the sale of Garnacho and Rashford, especially. Because if you've got Cunha and you've got Goncalves and you've got Jockarez or whoever the striker is in by the end of June, that helps our pre-season. But if you're Garnacho and Rashford, you look at it and go, fucking hell, they've moved on. He's got his players, they've moved on. I need to move on as well. It's almost like by doing things, it makes other people do things. Whereas if you don't do things, other people aren't in a rush either. So at the moment, we're sort of sat at the back of the class just not getting involved. We need to be at the front leading. That's what Man United need to do, in my opinion. Hi, Mark. I don't think it matters who's running the club. We can have the best CEO and the best sports director. They still don't make the decisions, says George. A free transfer is too dear for Jim, says Rossi. Wacker says, I might be wrong, but isn't United playing the Premier League Summer Series end of July? I hope we have our in and out going sorted out by then. Oh, yeah. I mean, well, that happens every year, mate. We'll be heading off on pre-season out of the UK in sort of mid to late July. That happens every year. So, yeah. But, look, there is time for Man United to change things. I think the players feel that. Amrim feels that. It's not complete and utter panic stations, but I think so many people, and we can attest to this as well, we've been in this position so many times for so many years, where you sort of like go, well, you know, it's only the end of May, there's still time, but then we know how long it takes for us to do deals, we know how quick June goes, and then once July's here, it's not long before you're on the plane to the States, and once you're on the plane to the States, you're basically looking at your first Premier League game, pre-season's gone, and you're sort of there going, we've done it again. We've done it again, haven't we? We've done it again. We're not prepared again. And what? I'm not going to get stressed about this because I've seen managers get sacked and it makes no difference. But I've said it with Ollie. I've said it with Ten Hag. I said it with Jose the season he got sacked. If this goes wrong this season, we shouldn't be shouting Jose out. We shouldn't be shouting Ten Hag out. We shouldn't be shouting Ollie out. We should be shouting Glazers out. But it never happens because once the season starts, everyone loses any logic of how shit the window was, how we got the business done late, how it ruined our pre-season. I remember last season, pre-season, every one of you was going, this is an absolute shit pre-season. He's got none of his players here. Yoro's injured. Rasmus got injured. Mazraoui and De Ligt and Agate weren't there. Like, it was an awful pre-season. Absolutely awful pre-season. The signings were good. But people, you know when you listen to Gary Neville saying, oh, you know, whatever about the window, they never say, to be fair, I thought it was a good window, but we got the players in at the wrong time. Agate was basically at the end of the window the season had started. De Ligt and Mazraoui were about 3 days before the first game of the season, so they missed pre-season. Yoro was injured until November. So they were good signings, but when you look at it, Ten Hag out, started straight away and he was gone. No one was going... All you got was, he had £300 million in the summer and he needs to go. Nobody was going, he had £300 million in the summer, but actually... 60 million of it he's never even used. De Ligt and Mazraoui didn't get a pre-season, and Agate didn't come in until the end of August. No one says that. It's just on the manager. And it'll be the same thing again. Ollie had the same thing as well. That's what worries me about next season is we might get players in, we might not get players in. But if they're not in July, it'll all be Amrim out when we lose a few games. It won't be... Yeah, but this signing's only been here 2 weeks, not had a pre-season. And that's what I think will happen again. Bruno's book value for PSR is next to zero as his first contract is all but up. We'd get close to the same benefits as selling an academy product. Yes, mate. He's already signed the new contract. He's got no amortization, KG. Same with Delo. Anything we get for Harry Maguire, for Bruno is pure profit. 100 million. Bang. What about Boniface? It's a circus like those new stadium plans, says Shane. Emily Derry says, selling Bruno could act as a catalyst and could be what saves the club. I hate that we're in this position, but our owners are so bad they have to have the issue forced by Bruno or Al-Hilal. Emily, you know what? I think you make a great point because I'm of an opinion that when it comes to Bruno, because we haven't spoken about him this morning, when it comes to Bruno, this club's on its arse. Morale's never been so low. There's no leadership. The club is absolutely on the floor. What do? Carry on how it is and scrap and scrimp and save, or do something revolutionary and bring a load of money in and try and rebuild the football club? I'd go with the first option. I'd go with that option there. But the scary thing is, it's you, Emily, and you in the chat that are saying this. It's not the club. The club are going, please don't go, Bruno. Please don't go. They're not actually seeing what you're seeing. They're not actually seeing that at all. And that's the scary thing. The leadership is abysmal. I would love to be Sir Jim Radcliffe, and I would be leading from the front, and so would you. It annoys me so much how bad Ineos and the PR is, and it always has been. Even when they were trying to buy the club, it's like getting blood from a stone. They are just so corporate, it's ridiculous. They've got no idea. No idea. I was looking at a clip the other day. I mean, this is our owner. Joel Glazer's fucking useless. Avram Glazer's fucking useless. They're absolutely useless. Daddy's money, no charisma, no leadership at all in front of a camera. They're rubbish. They're only there because their dad bought the club and he was successful. They're just rich kids, basically. They've got no leadership skills at all. So Jim Radcliffe, I had hopes for. Sat there in front of Gary Neville. Gary Neville says to him, and Gary Neville gets on with him, remember, but even Gary Neville asked this good question. He said, £40,000 you're taking from the charity for ex-players. That's not good, Jim, is it? And he's like, oh, yeah, God, at the end of the day. And he goes, yeah, but like you could get Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire to do a couple of like meet and greet Q&A shows where all the money goes to that charity. Or you could ask the players just to contribute £1,000 each and cover that 40 grand off. And Sir Jim Radcliffe sat there going, well, nobody ever told me I could do that. And it's like, that's the lead, that's the boss of Manchester United being given an off-the-cuff idea to be able to still give the money to that charity. And he's going, well, nobody told me that. And you get the sense that if we were sat with Sir Jim Radcliffe now and we said, why do you want to keep Bruno? Well, he's a good player, isn't he, Bruno? You know, he's Bruno, the Portuguese Magnifico. You know, he's the captain of the club. Yeah, Sir Jim, are you going to buy any players? Oh, it's challenging. Okay, sell Bruno, who's 31, next season for £100 million, pure profit, and go and buy some players. Well, nobody told me that. Nobody told me that. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Put it on an email. Like, no, yeah, at the end of the day, you know, it's a great idea, but no one's told me that. Yeah, and I feel like that's how we're running our football club at the moment. No one told me that the transfer market's open already. No one told me that pre-season's a good idea to get your players in. It's almost like no one just terrible leadership, really, really bad. I don't want Bruno to go. I've said it so many times, but in the circumstances, when drastic measures are needed at Manchester United, it's as simple as that. Home Alone FC, says Alex. Thank you very much for that. When you're owner of the club, you control everyone in the club, including the fans. Good job, Glazers, says Eddie. Bruno is replaceable. The pre-season isn't, says Tahil. I might be wrong, but isn't United playing... I've done that one from Raka. On Bruno, I think he's going to stay. That's not coming in from anywhere. We know that Amrim thinks he's going to stay. We know that club are trying to get him to stay. I obviously think we should cash in. I really, really do. I think he's going to stay. And the only reason I think he's going to stay is because we're going to incentivize him to stay. And I don't know whether that's going to be a pay rise or whatever, but I think we will incentivize him to stay. And I think that he will probably think one more year and I'll go next year after the World Cup. I think he will want to play competitive football leading towards the World Cup. I think he will stay. I think he's just going to go, I can go next year. And that's on United, because I'm telling you now, all it would take is, you're for sale, we want you to go, and he'd go. It's all on him. It's his decision. The club are saying we want you to stay. It's up to him. And that's a scary situation to be in, isn't it? Like, the club should be leading on this. Bruno shouldn't even have to make the decision. Why is Bruno Fernandes the CEO of Man United? If he goes, we've got a chance. If he stays, I don't know what happens next. But United are leaving it up to him. Where's the leadership? You should be making the decision yourselves. Someone made a compilation of all your watch-alongs reacting to Onana. It's unbelievable how bad he is. Everyone should watch that video. I won't be watching it, Parker. Rashford insisting on Barcelona will destroy his career if the transfer doesn't happen and he goes nowhere. Surely he has to give in at some point, says Trina. I think Barcelona want Rashford. I can see that one happening, if I'm being completely honest. That was another one. I completely forgot about this. This is a good one, actually. So last night it was reported that PSG are very close to signing Mastantano. Real Madrid are still fighting, but PSG are leading that race. Anybody else feel like we need to just remind ourselves of the nonsense that will happen around Manchester United, because not every story is true? The amount of people I see talking about Mastantano to Manchester United, I've always said all along, this just reminds me of every summer there's always an Argentinian or a Brazilian young player that gets linked to United. Everyone gets really excited about it and we never, ever even have a sniff. And here's another one. People have been talking about this for weeks. Oh, my dream summer signing is this, that, Mastantano and Jockarez. Mastantano, do you think it can happen? No, I don't think it can happen. There's a bloody chance it can happen. He's got a release clause for a start. Other clubs want him. No chance. And this is what I feel about Mbeumo as well. I think, look, I'd love Mastantano. I'd love Mbeumo. I think it's the same old bollocks. It's another story that benefits United to just let run and not say we're not in for it because it gets people excited. United have done meetings with their shareholders where one of their slides is about social media interaction around transfers. So they love you lot running off with a story that we're not even in because it just generates positivity. We're not in for Mastantano. I don't think we're in for Mbeumo either. I don't think we're in for anybody at the moment, to be honest. I think we're still licking our bloody wounds going, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't get Delap for 30 million. The Angry Jawa says, you said you wanted the club to back Ruben. Doesn't he want Bruno to stay? I think we should sell to fund the rebuild. That's two separate things. I want the club to back Ruben. And if we keep Bruno, they're backing Ruben. But I'm not a sheep. I can have a different opinion. I would sell Bruno. If they keep Bruno and they back Amorim, then we can't really complain. But I would sell him. That's my... If I was Ruben Amorim, I would sell him. If I was Man United, I would sell him. If they're going to back Ruben on this, I agree with them backing on him, but there will be consequences of that. I think it's going to be really bad for him. I think it's going to be really bad for him, because what happens if we keep Bruno? What players are we going to buy? I've got to the point with Bruno Fernandes as well where I'd actually be quite excited about a team without him. I find his indiscipline positionally quite frustrating. I find his indiscipline on the ball quite frustrating. He's our best player, but look at was it Palace? Was it Palace? What game was it? Bournemouth, where we got the late goal, and just before it, he shoots from 45 yards. I'm just sort of like, yeah, I'm ready to move on from the Bruno story, but I don't think we will be moving on from it. We don't need 2 top 14 players. We need 6 top 10 team players. Got to be realistic. Who wants to go to United now? Says Stephen. Look, this is why I think that Harry says, what's the situation with Jockarez? The situation with Jockarez is that the bid that's gone in for Jockarez this morning is apparently from Juventus. And if United are going to do anything, they need to do it now. I'd be over the moon if we did. But this is why I think Mateta might not be a bad signing, because in no way, shape or form is Mateta going to be a target for Arsenal or Liverpool or Chelsea. But where we are, we're not in Europe. We were near the relegation zone. We need somebody who is experienced, physical, and can put the ball in the back of the net. And for a season or two, I think that improves us, doesn't it? I mean, at the moment, we've got Rasmus Højlund up front. That's it. Whatever you think about him, that's it. And even Obi yesterday, I mean, people are talking about all sorts of shit. He scored a couple of goals against Hong Kong. It doesn't mean he can start for Man United next season at Anfield, does it? I think he's got a bright future, but we're going to have to nurture that future. And he needs a striker with him that he can work with and learn with as well. So I wouldn't be over the moon with Mateta, but in the current circumstances, it might be the best we can get. Anyway, that's where we are. Remember, today it's Champions League day, so Champions League final day, so we'll be live on That's Football at 8 o'clock tonight, which means it'll be a slightly earlier live show on here on the United Stand. So we'll be a little bit earlier tonight, probably sort of like 7:15, 6:30, 7 o'clock, somewhere around there, but we will have an evening show heading into the show on the Champions League watch along. Obviously, if anything breaks, we'll go live. I mean, there is this thing about Bruno that apparently it's 24 hours for him to decide what he's doing. I presume he's heading off to play for Portugal very, very soon as well. I mean, he could have had a fucking, I think Inter might win, actually. He could have had a week off, couldn't he? But I think he's heading off to Portugal soon as well. So he's got to make his mind up, I think. But I don't know whether it's a week or whatever. Maybe it's another week, I don't know. But anyway, anything breaking, we'll let you know. At some point, Man United need to pull the finger out their arse and start moving on deals. But at the moment, it's just very, very slow. Fantastic show this morning. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Some really good points as well. Mayo says, do you think the club wants Bruno to make the decision? As if he chooses to go, they don't have to pay him off. Says Mayo. You don't have to pay him off anyway, mate. He's we can say we want to sell. We don't have to pay Bruno off. Al-Hilal will play all that. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I will speak to you a little bit later. Take care. Thanks for watching.